ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Discrimination or differentiation or distinctions are very popular and widely used in Vedanta. Vedanta has a lot of discrimination techniques that are very popularly used. For example, separating the real and the unreal, self and the non-self, the permanent and the temporary. Therefore, there are equivalent Sanskrit terminologies that are used. Nitya Anitya Viveka, Atma Anatma Viveka, Satya Mithya Viveka, Panchabhuta Viveka, Panchakosha Viveka, and so many of these, Drk-Drsya Viveka. Now the question for us to ask is, Vedanta simultaneously proclaims that everything is Brahman, everything is the self, supreme. This is the proclamation of non-duality. Therefore, logically, an intriguing intellect will ask, why are the scriptures splitting one into many? Or is life one, whole, or multiple? Why are things split? Are they different parts, or is it a single whole? Now, the scripture cannot be wrong because it is from a realized sage. And the realized sage or the seer or the jnani or the master has conveyed his or her realization and concretized in the form of shlokas or words available in many, many scriptures, in Upanishads and in other Vedantic texts. Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, Drk-Drsya Viveka, Panchadashi, and so many other Vedantic texts. Therefore, what is the truth? Is the self one or many? If it is one, why has it been split into seer and seen, Atma and Anatma, real and unreal, Nitya and Anitya, constant and variable, Satya and Mithya? So it's very simple. The master or the teacher, the technique used by the teacher is to come to the level of the student or the seeker, hold his or her hand and walk him or her through in the form of teachings, through the teachings, to awaken layers and layers of awareness that has been masked by to awaken, to expose the awareness that has been masked by layers and layers of ignorance. Ignorance during this lifetime and over several lifetimes. Therefore, in order to start from where the seeker is, there is an important aspect. Though self, Brahman, absolute, Parabrahman is one, expression and experience are many. Expression is never one. The universe expresses itself in infinite variety. So does the self. The self expresses as infinite number of jivas. Even if we consider the human race, today the population of the world is about nearly 750 crores, 7.5 billion people in the world. So one self expressing in 750 crore forms, just human forms. Then consider the other forms, animals, insects, plants, everything. So there are infinite number of forms as expressing themselves, as appearing themselves, though it's come from a single truth or single principle. Similarly, if we consider our experience, even on a single day, what do we experience only one thing or multiple things? One emotion or multiple emotions? All of us will agree that even on a given day, we have multiple experiences of multiple emotions. So how do we reconcile the two? How do we reconcile the two? The one single source versus infinite variety of experience and expressions. That is why initially the teacher says the seer and seen are different. The constant is different from the variable. The appearance is different from the self, the source. What is the purpose? To clearly identify the source in creating the split, in posing the distinction or the separation between the seer and the seen. The purpose is not to understand the seen. It is to recognize and be fully aware of the seer, which is the absolute. What about the external world? The external world is full of forms, infinite variety of forms. We don't have to get into how many varieties are there. It is very, very obvious, isn't it? ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ತುಂಬ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಅಮಿತವಾದಂಥ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆ. ನಾಮ ರೂಪಗಳು 10 ಹಲವಾರು, ನೂರಾರು, ಲಕ್ಷಾಂತರ, ಕೋಟ್ಯಾಂತರ. But the purpose of separating the form from the essence of the form is to recognize the essence in each and every form. While we appreciate the physical and and the chemical characteristics of the form of the objects, the focus, the attention is always on the essence of each and every form. That is Vedanta. The next question comes, what is the seeker's position in the current state? Obviously, because the experiences are manifold, the expressions are manifold, what attracts the seeker? Always variety attracts the seeker. Unity doesn't attract the seeker. Complexity attracts the seeker. Simplicity is ignored by the seeker. In the initial days, in the initial part of the seeking. And there is always a confusion in the mind of the seeker between these two aspects, between the real and the unreal, between the seer and the seen, between satya and mithya, between that which is constant and that which is an appearance. So much so that the seer is mistaken to be the seen. Atma is mistaken to be anatma. Constant is mistaken to be varying, changing. Unchanging is mistaken to be changing. And what do we call this mistaken, misplaced identity? Ignorance, isn't it? Let's take a simple example. We can clearly define an object. For example, I can say this is a pen, right? Or this is a book. This book is Drk-Drsya Viveka. So there are no two opinions about physical objects in front of us, concrete objects. But then, once we look at, if we say I, can two people agree on I, the word I, what it means to them? For each one of us, I, the capital I, means very different. So much so that we will have 750 crore variations of I as reflected in each and every individual of the world's population, human population. This is the paradox. The I is single, but it means many, many different things to different people. Whereas objects are so different, but it means the same to everybody. Isn't it? The experience of apple can be different for different people. Some person might like apple. Some person who likes jackfruit might dislike an apple. A person who doesn't like a jackfruit might like a banana. But everybody agrees that banana is a banana. Apple is an apple. Jackfruit is a jackfruit. Though the experiences are different. Whereas the single source I, the absolute, the consciousness, the awareness, no two people will agree. People will quarrel, people will argue, people will fight. Why? Because there is a whole lot of confusion about I. The word I. When I say I'm hungry, who am I referring to? I'm saying I am hungry. So what is the I am referring to? Who is hungry? Who is the I am referring to? Obviously, I can very easily conclude that this body is hungry. Therefore, I have relegated I to the position of my body. Suppose I say I am calm. I'm right now in a satsang with everybody, other like-minded people. So I'm generally calm. When I say I now, I am calm, what am I referring to as I? Who is calm? It is usually the heart, the emotional mind that is calm. Therefore, I has taken the meaning of the emotions or the heart. And now, if I say I am clear as I listen to the talk, I am clear about what I am hearing or listening, who is clear? The intellect is clear about what it is hearing. Therefore, what is the meaning of I now? It is the intellect. See, the single I has already taken 3 forms in just 3 minutes or 3 instances. Sometimes I think I am the body when I have a physical need. When I have an emotional need, I think I am the emotion or the heart. When I need the intellect or the logic to be in operation and I focus on the thinking capacity, I think I am the intellect. Therefore, am I the body? Am I the mind? Am I the intellect? That is why in the topic for today that we are going to take up, the seer-seen discrimination, Drk-Drsya Viveka becomes so very important. Am I the seen or the objects that are being seen, or am I the seer? The Drk-Drsya Viveka opens up with this shloka. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Tad drishyam drik tu manasam. Drishyam dhi vrittaya sakshi. Drik eva natu drishyate. Rupam drishyam. The forms are seen. The names and by forms, we must also include the name, forms, and functions. So the name and form are the objects. Lochanam drik, the eyes. Lochanam is the eyes. The eyes are the seer. That's at the very basic level, fundamental level. The seer are the eyes or the sense organs. It can be any of the sense organs: eyes, nose, ears, skin, and tongue. And the objects of the world are the names and forms of the objects of the world are the seen. At the next level, the mind, who sees, who knows about the eyes, who knows about the ears, who knows about the taste on the tongue? Unless the mind pays attention to the eyes, then the eyes can't see, isn't it? It is our own experience. Right in front of us, people will be passing by on the street. or in front of our house. But if our mind is engrossed in some activity completely, we don't even notice the person passing right in front of us. Physically, the eyes are seeing there, but the mind has not paid attention to the person who is walking in front of us, but is engrossed either in gardening or any other hobby that the mind is completely absorbed. Therefore, who knows the eyes are seeing, the eyes are clear? For example, if I remove my specs, I can't see very clearly. Who knows my eyes are blurred? And when I put on the specs, who knows the eyes are now able to see clearly? It is my mind. Therefore, at the next level, the mind is the seer and the eyes become the object of seeing. Then if we go to the next level, the final level, who sees the mind? What is happening in the mind? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, all of these, isn't it? So who knows that? Who knows I'm happy, I'm disturbed, I am cool, I am calm? Obviously, the mind can't know itself. There must be an observer of the mind who knows what is happening in the mind. And that Vedanta calls it Sakshi, or the witness, isn't it? Hmm? Now, can there be a seer of the witness? Just check. Who knows who is the witness? There stops the buck. The final seer is the Sakshi, or the witness. Now look at the characteristics of the seer and seen in every instant. If there is a seer and the seen, now the objects of perception, there are many objects of perception. Therefore, the seen are many, multiple. I can see the laptop, I can see the microphone, I can see the pen, I can see the chair in front of me, I can see the paintings and the pictures hung on the wall in front of me. I can see multiple objects with, and who is observing it? The same pair of eyes. So what do we conclude as a logic? Seer is single, the seen are many. Eka aneka viveka. Unity, multiplicity, discrimination. Now, how am I able to see all the multiple objects? I'm able to see all the objects only if my eyes are steady, isn't it? Therefore, changing and unchanging discrimination. The eyes are unchanging, the objects are changing. If I look in front of me, I can see the painting that Mani has just painted and hung on the wall. Then if I turn slightly to the left, I can see a chair. If I turn to the right, I can see another object. I can see the bulb that is there, the light bulb. Therefore, the objects are changing, the eyes are unchanging. What is that? That is Satya Mithya Viveka. Then the next question will arise. Who sees whom? Does the eyes see the object, or the object sees the eyes? Obviously, a person in the senses will say the eyes are seeing the object. That means the eyes are intelligent and the objects are inert. So Chit Jada Viveka, eyes are conscious and the objects are unconscious or inert. Therefore, there is Chit Jada Viveka. See, in one stroke of seer seeing discrimination, the sage has already embedded 3 further discriminations. Constant and varying, single and multiple, conscious and inert. Check with anything. Now, the seer, which is the eyes, can see everything other than itself. Can the eyes see itself? No. One might say we can see the eyes through the mirror, but what we see is the reflection of the eyes in the mirror. We can't see, the eyes can't see themselves directly. So we need a seer, the next level seer for the eyes. So what do we call the eyes and the mind? We call them relative seers. Because what is the seer in one instant, the eyes can see the object. With respect to external objects, eyes are the seer. But with respect to the mind, eyes become the seen. Similarly, the mind, with respect to the eyes and sense organ, is the seer. But with respect to the witness and the sakshi, the mind becomes the seen or the object. So what do we call objects in Vedanta? Jada. It is the Vastu. That means the eyes and the mind are actually inert. Well, this is one more confusion. If the eyes are inert, how can the eyes see? Now, it is simple, and Vedanta has an explanation for that also. The eyes are able to see because of the light of the source reflecting in the instrument of seeing. Just like the moon doesn't have a light on its own, of its own, but it appears luminous because of the sunlight reflecting on it. And in the moonlight on a night, through the moonlight on a night, we are able to see things in the dark, not in the dark, sorry, under the moonlight on the earth. Similarly, eyes borrow sentience from the mind, and the mind borrows sentience from the witness or the sakshi. Therefore, what is actually the final sentient object or the sentient source? It is only the sakshi. The only conscious entity is the witness, but the mind thinks it is able to think, the eyes think it is able to see, but upon realization, we will understand that the ability to see, ability of the eyes to see, the ability of the ears to hear, and the ability of the tongue to taste, and the ability of the touch of the skin is given, is borrowed from the mind. In turn, the ability of the mind to think, that the eyes can see clearly, it cannot see, it can see hazily now, it cannot see in the dark. Now it is bright light, sunshine. The ability of the mind to think is borrowed from the light of the witness. Therefore, eventually, the powerhouse or the power source is only one thing. It is the witness and the witness alone. And that is called the light of the self or Atma Jyoti. In order to realize that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the witness, we must first understand how the body, mind came into being. If we understand the descent from one to many, we can know the path from many to one. We can know the path of ascent from many to one. So this is the logic that is used even in Drk-Drsya Viveka. What is the characteristics of, before that, what is the characteristic of consciousness or the Sakshi? It is completely still, steady, unchanging. And Drk-Drsya Viveka very clearly defines that as na udeti na astametyesha na vruddhim yati na akshayam. Na udeti, it does not rise. Na astameti, it does not fall. It does not grow. Na vruddhim, nor does it diminish. Akshayam, kshayam. Swayam vibhati, it is self-effulgent and it illumines everything without the aid of any external source. So here is a checkpoint for all of us. How do we know which is the real seer? Is it self-effulgent? Does it rise or fall? Does it wax or wane? If it waxes or wanes, it is a temporary seer. If it rises and falls, it is a temporary seer. If it is still and steady, if it is self-luminescent, Swayam Prakasham, Swayam Bhati, then if it illumines everything else without the aid of any other external source, then it becomes a real seer. Look at the witness. What powers the witness? Its own light. For example, what gives light to the sun? There is nothing that gives light to the sun even physically. Its own light it throws out onto the solar system. It is self-luminescent. Now, in order to illumine the Earth and all the 9 planets, does the sun seek any battery or any generator from outside to generate light? No. So it illumines every object on its path without the need for any external source of light. Therefore, relatively speaking, the sun is the absolute seer when compared to illumining the objects on all the 9 planets in the solar system. Similarly, consciousness or witness, being self-effulgent, self-luminescent, illumines everything else out of its own light without the need for external light. So this is a litmus test on whether the seer that I am considering, that I think is the seer, is the ultimate seer or a temporary or a relative seer. For example, if I consider eyes as the seer of objects, Do the eyes rise and fall? That means are they born? Do they come into experience and go out of experience? Yes. Though from the position of the external objects, eyes are relatively permanent, relatively stable, relatively unchanging. From the absolute perspective, eyes, the power of the eyes do change. We all know that. Today I am wearing specs because my eye power has changed. Therefore, eyes are not the ultimate seers. They are an intermediate or a temporary seer, functionally used, powered by the light of consciousness, given the power of seeing by light of consciousness or light of the witness, in order to see gross objects of the world. How did the whole mix up between the real and the unreal, between the seer and the seen, between the temporary and the permanent, between the changing and the unchanging? How did this whole mix-up come about? Now, Drk-Drsya Viveka talks about one aspect, that is Maya. Maya is the cause for the whole mix-up. How? Because of its two inherent powers. What are the two inherent powers of Maya? We all know that. One is the concealment and power of concealing things, or the power that covers the truth. And the other is the power of projection, that which projects everything, that which is responsible for all the variety that we see and experience today. Now, what does the power of projection do? The power of projection does two things, one internally and the other externally. Internally, the power of projection creates umpteen number of thoughts and emotions and feelings on the reflecting surface, which is the mind or the Sukshma Sharira. Externally, what does it do? It creates a myriad of names and forms that we call as the universe. All these, both of these, the umpteen number of thoughts, feelings, and emotions within our mind, and the infinite number of names and forms of all the objects in the world, is the work of the power of projection of Maya. Now, what does concealment do? The power of concealment or the covering. The power of concealment does two things again, one internally and one externally. What does it do internally, power of concealment? What does the power of concealment conceal inside? Have we thought about it? What is the innermost core inside? The witness or the sakshi or the self or consciousness. Isn't it? What does it conceal? It conceals that. And when it conceals, what happens? The jiva is born, or I mistake myself to be this body, mind, intellect, which is the jiva. And what does the power of concealment do in the world? It conceals the essence of every object, which is the existence from the object. That means when I see an object, instead of recognizing Brahman or the existence aspect of Brahman, I only recognize the name, form, color, texture, shape, and all of those temporary variable things. Therefore, what is needed? On one side, I need to recognize, I need to break the concealment within me through internal meditation. And I also need to break the concealment in the world outside me through external meditation on external objects. And Drk-Drsya Viveka says this is antar samadhi, internal samadhi, and bahir samadhi, external samadhi. Both are essential. Why has the sage given two types of meditations? Or nididhyasa, or samadhi techniques? Why not only one? Isn't antar samadhi good enough? In antar samadhi, what happens? I get over the names and forms or the variations of all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and I recognize that I am the witness. Isn't this good enough? Actually, no. How so? We will see. If I am not able to recognize the Brahman or existence aspect in the world, then compassion doesn't flow. The ego rises. I am the witness. I am superior to the inert objects. That is the danger of a lopsided work on only inside. Therefore, work by the seeker must be done on the inside, antar samadhi, and also must be done on the outside, bahir samadhi. When we work on the outside, when we meditate on external objects, then what is the realization? The realization is the foundation of all varying names and forms in the world is nothing but existence or Brahman. So there is the foundation of the rock is Brahman. The foundation of water is Brahman. The foundation of the rose exists. Himalaya exists. The rock exists. The river exists. So what is common? What is the common factor? Existence. Existence has appeared as rose, has appeared as Himalayas, has appeared as the laptop. And therefore, I realize if there is Brahman consciousness or existence in one, it is present in every other thing. Brahman is present in every other thing, everything in this universe is the realization of meditation, Vedantic meditation on external objects, on internal objects. What do I realize? Meditation on internal objects. That I am not the multiple thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I am the witness. I am. Instead of I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, remove the variable part, body, mind, and intellect. What remains? I am, which is consciousness. Now look at I am principle. When I say I am, that means I know I exist. I exist and I know I exist. I am conscious of my existence. Who can say I am? Only the one who is powered by the self and is sentient can say I am. That includes every living creature. They may not say it in English, but they know that they exist because it's the property of consciousness. The light of consciousness immediately gives the power of knowledge that one exists. Therefore, I know I exist. When I say I am, remove I am the body, the variable, and say I am. Does Vani also not say I am? Yes. Does Krishnamurti also not say I am? Yes. Will Padmini also not say I am? Yes. So what does it mean? The I am in me is the same as the I am in every living being. The consciousness in me is the same as consciousness in every living being. The existence in one object is the same as the existence in every object of the world. That is the meditation on external objects. When I meditate within me, meditation on the internal object, the realization is the consciousness in me is the same as the consciousness in everybody. Then where is the differentiation? Where is the distinction? I am compassionate, kind, loving to every being, everyone, and everything, including the chair, the table, the laptop. Because I understand even when it is an inert object, there is Brahman or existence, which is the ground of that object. And therefore, I will treat it with respect, kindness, care, and love. I will not kick it. I will lift the chair and keep it aside with full reverence to the existence of that object. So whether it's inert or conscious, it makes no difference. When I do things, when I meditate simultaneously on internal objects and external objects, focusing on only one will only boost my ego, keeping the duality intact and giving me a sense of superiority, which is not the purpose of Vedanta. That is why the sage of Drk-Drsya Viveka has recommended through his own realization two techniques, Antar Samadhi and Bahir Samadhi. Oneness in everything, oneness in everyone. And the oneness in everything and the oneness in everyone are not different. Now comes the question. We know the science behind Antar Samadhi and Bahir Samadhi that Drk-Drsya Viveka has said. What is the technology? How do I do it? What do we mean by technology? How do I do Antar Samadhi? How do I engage in Bahir Samadhi as a practice? We all discussed earlier that the mind gets attracted naturally with variety rather than with oneness or singularity. Therefore, for nididhyasa, what is the technique that is recommended? Now, the 22nd shloka of Drk-Drsya Viveka teaches us upekshya nama rupe dve sachidananda tatparaha samadhim sarvada kuryad hridaye vang yava bahihi. So, when we close our eyes, what happens? What do we see? Do we experience stillness? No. Immediately when we close our eyes, as a normal seeker who's engaged in day-to-day living, what happens? First thing is, we can recognize a lot of thoughts, feelings and emotions, memories crop up and rise to the level of conscious mind. Now, whenever we sit for meditation, it's an experience for most of us that most of the time when we sit for meditation, instead of silence, more thoughts rise. Now, the way of yoga is to suppress the thoughts and focus on one thing. Whereas the method recommended by Drk-Drsya Viveka as a technology is upekshya nama rupe dve. Nama rupa, neglecting the nama and rupa. Neglecting doesn't mean suppressing. That means you not pay attention to nama and rupa, name and form. You pay attention to the one who sees the name and form. Who is it? The witness. Now, this principle of not paying attention is also given in Viveka Chudamani by Adi Shankara with the sadhana under the sadhana chatushtaya principle in the Shat Sampatti. It is called Uparati. Uparati means what? The second one, no, the third principle. Shama Dama Uparati. What does Uparati mean? When I have a desire to do something, do I suppress the desire? No, I don't pay attention to the lower desire. I replace it with a higher desire. Our teacher Prabhuji always gives this example. If there is a student preparing for IIT exam and his friend calls him for a movie, then there are two things occurring simultaneously in the mind of the student preparing for the IIT entrance exam. One is the desire to watch a movie. The other is the desire to pass IIT entrance exam in flying colors so that he can competitively get into the IIT of his choice. Which one does he choose? If he suppresses the desire to see a movie, then while he's preparing, thoughts of his friend enjoying the movie will haunt him. So his preparation will go for a toss. Instead, if he realizes, if he knows that the future is going to be bright, if he passes the entrance exam in flying colors, replaces the thought or the desire for a movie with the desire, a higher desire to achieve something bigger in life, then Uparati, he will enjoy the being engaged in the higher desire. That is what Antar Samadhi Rupanuvid is also trying to attempt. do. Nama and Rupa of various thoughts. Thoughts and feelings also have names and forms. They are attractive. But instead of suppressing them, transcend them. Transcend them how? By getting into the seer or the knower of thoughts and feelings. So know that the thoughts and feelings are varying continuously, but the witness, I as the witness, is constant. Then we will get established in the witness principle. Still, there is the witness and the witnessed, or the objects that are being witnessed. I am the witness, and there are thoughts and feelings that are moving. I am constant, and that is. So then the next level comes. The next level comes that when you know you are the witness and you are observing the objects of witness, which is the subtle objects in this case, in Antar Samadhi, thoughts, feelings, and emotions, the next level is to focus on the nature of the witness. Who talks about the nature of the witness? Can somebody who is immersed in the worldly affairs know about the witness? No, because he hasn't paid attention to the witness. So who will talk about the nature of witness? It is only the scriptures. So what is the nature of witness? The nature of witness is, the teaching says, Drk-Drsya Viveka teaching says, it is asanga, unattached, and Satchidananda Swarupa. It is of the nature of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Then another quality it describes, Dvaita Varjita, free from duality. Now, who or what says this? It is Shabda Pramana. What is Shabda? Shabda is the Vedas or the Upanishad. That's why Vedas are called Shabda Pramana. They are the reference texts. So know that because the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita and all other spiritual texts have said consciousness or witness is asanga, unattached, unalloyed. It is Dvaita Varjita, free from duality. Pay attention to the nature of the witness. That is called Shabdanuvid Antar Samadhi. From I am not the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, the neti principle, to I am asanga, the iti principle. Neti principle is Rupanuvid Savikalpa Samadhi. I am not this, I am not that. That is the neti principle. I am not the thoughts, I am not the feeling. That means I become the witness or the observer of my thoughts and feelings. There is still duality there. Then I go to the next step. I am asanga, I am unattached. As a witness, I am unattached. I am not non-dual. I am of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda. This is revealed by whom or what? This is revealed by the word, the sacred word. What is the sacred word? Veda Mata. Shabda Pramana. I am unattached. I am unalloyed. I am non-dual. I am affirming that I am non-dual. This is the iti principle. Now, when I'm completely established using the neti and the iti principle, then I can drop both and just be in silence or established in the self without any anchor. It is like letting this sailboat, untying the sailboat from the anchor in a still water. It will not move, it will float where it is. That is nirvikalpa samadhi. No anchor at all. And how does that come? From the continuous practice of savikalpa, to the two types of savikalpa samadhi, the neti principle and the iti principle. Drk-Drsya Viveka gives another simile. It is like a flame burning steady without any breeze around it. So you don't have to say, I am not the thoughts, feelings, emotions. Neither you have to affirm, I am unattached, unalloyed, because you already know that through continuous, undifferentiated, unsplit practice and realization. Then you can release, thoughts will be there, emotions will be there. You neither say you are not that, nor you say I am this. You are still established as the self. This is one technique. What about Bahir Samadhi then? Bahir Samadhi, you see external objects, all the variety, then the names and forms. Now, the same principle you apply, Upeksha Nama Rupa, neglecting all names and forms. That means don't pay attention to names and forms, but pay attention to the existence of the names and forms of objects. What is the existence? It is the existence aspect of Brahman. So when we see a rose or a jasmine or a champaka or any other flower, you can see the variety of color, variety of smell, variety of fragrance, and variety of texture. But when you see that, recognize that the foundation of all those things are the fundamental existence. That is nothing but Brahman. So, how do we do Rupanu with Bahir Samadhi? The flower is not the fragrance. The flower is not the color. The flower is not the texture. Neti, neti, neti. Then what? What is it? It is the one underlying all the texture. It is the one that gives texture. It is the one that gives the white color. It is the one that gives a beautiful fragrance. That is the existence aspect of Brahman. Neti principle, Rupanu with Bahir Samadhi. Then Shabdanu with Bahir Samadhi. From saying not that, then you focus on what it is. Drk-Drsya Viveka is teaching us the existence principle is akhandaika rasam vastu. Akhanda eka rasam vastu. It is akhanda, unsplit, undifferentiated, eka, one, unified rasam essence, undifferentiated unified essence of what? Of all names and forms of objects. And what can that be? That can be only existence. Satchit Ananda Lakshanam. The same thing is there. Satchit Ananda Lakshanam. It is of the characteristic or the nature of Sat Chit Ananda. That means whatever differentiation appears is only an appearance, an undifferentiated, unified, essential principle of all existence is the very existence itself. All names and forms of objects is the very existence itself. That nature, if I meditate on when I see objects, then who says that it is Akhanda Eka Rasam? It is again Shabda Pramana. The Vedas say it. The Bhagavad Gita says it. The Upanishads will say it. The Brahma Sutra says it in different ways. But they say the same thing. Therefore, it becomes Shabdanuvid Savikalpa Bahir Samadhi. Then, when you say the name, the color is not that, the fragrance is not the flower, the petal is not the flower, the texture is not the flower, then you are looking at the foundation of all names and forms. Then when you are meditating on the essential nature of existence, then you are actually meditating on, you are getting into iti principle. You are affirming that existence is the foundation of everything. With prolonged practice, we neither need the negation of the form nor the affirmation of existence. We'll be able to recognize oneness or the Brahman aspect in all aspects of creation. That is Nirvikalpa Bahir Samadhi. Once we recognize Sakshi or Atman principle in every living being, conscious being, and the existence principle in every insentient or inert object, what is the nature of existence? Satchitananda, it is Brahman. What is the nature of Sakshi? Satchitananda, it is also Brahman. Therefore, the essential nature of Jiva and Jada, both are Brahman. Then we realize the distinction between Jiva and Jada is just the work of Maya. Maya's playful act with Avarana and Vikshepa divides one into many. Specifically, in the manifestation path, it divides into three: Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva is sentient, Jagat is insentient, Ishvara is the creator, the supreme Lord. Therefore, once we realize Jiva and Jada distinctions are only the work of Maya, the work of concealment and projection, and the concealment is removed. Concealment is what? The name and form in the external world, to pierce through the name and form and get into the level of existence, to pierce through the variety of thoughts and feelings internally and get to the level of Sakshi, then neither Jiva nor Jada are different in essence. This is the utmost treasure that we have. And once we realize that there is no need for protection at all, it is always free and it is free. It is available. When Jiva and Jada, Jiva and Jagat are all Brahman, then what is my relationship with Jagat? It is one of compassionate action. What is my relationship with Sakshi? It is one of wisdom, wisdom of non-duality. When we realize the self, Atmano Mokshartham, then everything and every being are no different from Brahman. Then what can happen? Only compassionate action can happen. Compassion moves from being an emotion to being a verb or an action. So you will see all realized sages, all masters, all Gyanis, they have never kept quiet. They have always worked for the welfare of the world, knowing fully well that the world is not different from them, they are not different from the world, but the rest of them have a sense of difference. So they work continuously to uplift the world without any expectation. The great teacher Adi Shankara, it is said, realized his true nature at the age of 8. But tirelessly, every minute, every day, he traveled across the country to spread the message of Vedanta till the age of 33. He could have sat quiet once he realized at the age of 8, but he never kept quiet. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa never kept quiet. Swami Vivekananda continued to work, spreading the message. My teacher, Sri Prabhuji, not a day passes without teaching Vedantic principles to any one or the other person. Therefore, true realization is both the wisdom that I am the self and flow of compassion as action to the world. This treasure is not to be locked inside, but to be made available freely to flow to everything and everyone. Om Tat Sat.